Woodstock 1969, a cultural landmark, considered by many to be the epicenter of celebration of hippie culture, an entire generation converging around shared ideals, questions, bad acid trips, rain, mud, and a great soundtrack throughout. The legends were there, the working bands were there, and the newcomers were there. It was shot on film and became one of the greatest documentaries of the 70s. Yet the long-running question in classic rock circles, from bars to record stores to online forums, remains. Why didn't Led Zeppelin play Woodstock? I've seen grown men get into fistfights over this topic. So consider this video a civilized investigation into the mystery of why Page, Plant, Jones, and Bonham missed this iconic event. Was their absence inevitable? Or was there a chance Led Zeppelin could have taken the stage at Woodstock? Let's dive deep into the story and uncover the truth. January 1969. Woodstock Ventures was formed with its offices set in Manhattan. The partnership mix of two guys from the music industry and two New York City businessmen was an idealistic project embracing culture and commerce, a rare breed, and as they would find out, wishful thinking. Down on the Lower East Side, Led Zeppelin was getting ready for the first of 4 shows at the Fillmore East. That's 4 shows in 2 days. A fitting representation of their touring plans for 1969. By April 1969, Woodstock Ventures landed Creedence Clearwater Revival as the first band to play the event for a fee of $10,000. They would play at 12:30 a.m. and John Fogerty demanded being left out from the festival's concert film. A bad business move by Mr. Fogerty. I guess he's no fortunate son, but a working man. Woodstock Ventures had a tough time landing other bands, so the Creedence effect finally drew other bands to agree to help with the peace movement, or in business terms, get paid good money to play music for the average Joe like you and me. Ticket sales grew each month. Numbers grew up to 186,000. Despite ongoing advertising, no one could really predict what was going to happen at the actual event. Woodstock Ventures had to move the original concert site to Max Yasgur's farm and faced much opposition from the town of Bethel. July 5th, 1969, a July 4th celebration weekend, Led Zeppelin began their 3rd concert tour of North America, and what better place to do so than the Atlanta International Pop Festival. With an estimated attendance of 150,000, it was sort of a prelude for Woodstock, with poorly planned concession stands, long lines, and extreme weather in the ways of heat. Led Zeppelin had a blast both on stage and off, with a nice contract fee of $7,500 for their 1-hour performance. Money coming in and manager Peter Grant taking good care of it. Their live fee had risen since early 1969, with their 2nd US tour in April through May seeing contracts for $5,000 at Vancouver, $4,000 at the Boston Tea Party, plus the gate money, and $9,500 for 2 dates at the Fillmore East. Despite not charting at number 1 on Billboard throughout the year against the Beatles, Blood, Sweat and Tears, and that crappy Hair musical, their debut album became the 4th best-selling album of 1969, and promoters couldn't underpay these word-of-mouth underdogs, slowly becoming the dogs of doom for those who tried to rip them off. They gave them no quarter. Not all of their shows from their summer tour were festivals, but as you will see, they experienced these quite a lot. Led Zeppelin played the Newport Jazz Festival on July 6th, but manager Peter Grant had to argue with the promoter, who canceled their performance, alleging one of the bandmates, Jimmy Page, was ill. According to Peter Grant's book, this was not true, leading him and lawyer Steve Weiss to threaten legal action. Promoter George Wein then decided everything was cool, and they were put back on the bill. Nothing like a great lawyer to keep promoters in check. Also, because Wein canceled Led Zeppelin's performance at first, there were a lot of people who left the festival, so he decided it was better to have them back. Now, the 3rd and 4th dates of the tour saw Led Zeppelin play more festivals, including the Laurel Pop Festival in Maryland and the Summer Music Festival at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Next was a small 2-artist bill as a part of a big festival on July 21st with B.B. King. The Schaefer Music Festival had a 3-month concert calendar from June through August. Led Zeppelin kept the van moving, literally with John Bonham sometimes taking the wheel, and according to Richard Cole, he was giving some performance stimulants to keep him awake. Next stop was July 25th at the Midwest Rock Festival. The next big thing was Seattle on July 27th, where the local pop festival was held at Gold Creek Park. This was a historic date for the band, as they stole the show from the Doors, playing right after. This is a hilarious article with a mirrored image of the band billed as the Led Zeppelin. Oh yes, and Seattle was also the place where the famous, or infamous, mud shark incident at the Edgewater Inn happened. Frank Zappa did a song about it. I will tell you this story on a separate episode. On August 1st, 1969, Led Zeppelin played Santa Barbara alongside Jethro Tull. Besides crazy touring, their plans for the month included overdubs and final mixing sessions for Led Zeppelin 2. Meanwhile, over at Woodstock Ventures, it was just 14 days until showtime, and the organizers were struggling to meet deadlines for everything, from the stage to concession stands. It was an uphill battle as the crowds began their journey to Bethel. And then Friday, August 15th came with Led Zeppelin once again sharing the bill with Jethro Tull at the Hemisphere Arena in San Antonio, Texas. Up in New York, the Woodstock Festival began at 5 p.m. with Richie Havens playing every song he knew, while the rest of the artists battled their way through heavy traffic, flight delays, you name it. Saturday, August 16th had Led Zeppelin perform 2 shows the same day with opening act Joe Cocker, this time on the East Coast at the Convention Hall in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Past this performance, Joe Cocker and his crew went up north to Bethel, New York. He performed at Woodstock the next day at 2 p.m. Now, according to the press, Peter Grant said no to Woodstock as, quote, "we would have been just another band on the bill." He was right though. From a business standpoint, Led Zeppelin had a unique platform. Jimi Hendrix wished he had Peter Grant and Ahmet Ertegun on his side. That they were not just another band on the bill, but the future kings of the 70s who made their own rules and built the modern rock and roll business. Now, Atlantic Records was shocked at their Woodstock refusal, to say the least. They couldn't believe one of their most promising bands on their roster was left out from a cultural gathering of 500,000 people. Atlantic Records gave them a $100,000 advance back in 1968, plus 50 G's in 1969. It's not like they didn't have the money for traveling, but there's more to it than that. Led Zeppelin was already booked for the Woodstock weekend, and they were in the East Coast area with their Sunday, August 17th show held at the Oakdale Theater in Connecticut. Woodstock Ventures probably offered them the gig a week or 2 in advance, but Peter Grant's sixth sense for business proved him right. For someone who started off as a doorman on the violent streets of the Two Ice Coffee and the Flamingo in the early 60s, later going up the ranks as tour manager for the nightmare behavior of Gene Vincent and the Animals' first USA tour, Grant's experience was useful, to say the least. His rock and roll wisdom was key in the Zeppelin operation. Woodstock was just another festival in a year of many festivals. Saying no was just like refusing to play any other festival. Second, Grant and lawyer Steve Weiss knew a lot of people in the business and government, and word was out on the existing and potential problems at Woodstock. The last thing Led Zeppelin needed was getting stuck in traffic, waiting for a helicopter, getting their equipment stolen, just anything that would delay the rest of their commitments on that busy month of August 1969. Had this been their first North American visit, maybe they could afford the risk, but no. They were 140 concerts into their life history since 1968, wrapping up a follow-up that would destroy the competition, and they would play the Texas International Pop Festival as the final date of their US tour on August 31st. You can check this episode here on the channel. So what other reason did Peter Grant have to turn down Woodstock besides logistics? Money. American money. Based on Zeppelin's contract information and their live show payments, their average earning fee was $6,000. If we take a look at the artist data from Woodstock, you can see that, and this probably pissed off Pete Townsend, but band-wise, Zeppelin was earning as much as The Who were 5 years into their career. The only other British rock band at the festival charging less than 6 G's was 10 years after at half the price. And keep in mind, 10 years after, like Led Zeppelin, played both Newport's Jazz and Seattle Pop Festivals. Yet their fee did not increase despite Alvin Lee's virtuoso guitar playing. Joe Cocker was technically a solo artist, and look at his earnings, despite a generational hit single and his debut album selling pretty much the same as Jefferson Airplane, Jeff Beck, and Iron Butterfly's Ball. Just for the record, the Incredible String Band was a Scottish group, and they played a different musical style. It's obvious Woodstock was mostly an American band festival, and there was some additional risk of the organizers not having the Zeppelin money, given the conditions. I don't picture Michael Lang as someone who would instill trust in Peter Grant at all. Led Zeppelin was not doing charity work, rightfully so. Imagine going up there and getting some crap of, "I'm sorry man, we can't pay you this much because we have Jimi Hendrix and Creedence. It's a festival of peace, love and music. We're cool, Peter?" Checking out the payments at Woodstock, man, were Janis Joplin and Sly and the Family Stone underpaid. Well, Joan Baez was overpaid. She's not in the Creedence or Blood, Sweat and Tears category. No way. Santana was severely underpaid, $750, and they were one of the absolute highlights at the festival. Promoter Bill Graham helped them land this gig, but Santana was worth at least $2,000 that day. Now, I'm aware some of these artists got a bigger paycheck because they probably signed their contracts early on, but still, the more you look into it, the more you see Peter Grant was right. After all, everybody was in it for the money, right? Then there's a problem of, if Zeppelin agreed to play Woodstock, what time slot would you put them in? Saturday, right after The Who? I didn't see that happening. Sunday before Joe Cocker? Maybe, but what about the 3-hour storm that trashed the place at 3:25 p.m.? Had Zeppelin played, they probably would have delayed Joe Cocker's legendary "With a Little Help of My Friends" performance. Maybe Jimmy Page would have joined Joe Cocker for this song. After all, he recorded the lead guitar parts for it. Maybe put Zeppelin right before 10 years after. Yeah, this works.
Ladies and gentlemen, Led Zeppelin.
Now, just like Creedence and Blood, Sweat and Tears, who declined to participate in the Woodstock documentary film, I see Zeppelin doing the same thing, worried about the audio and video quality. Now, if Zeppelin played Woodstock on Saturday or Sunday, they still had a Monday, August 18th date at the Rockpile, Toronto, where they were scheduled for 2 shows on the same day. They repeat the drill on the 20th at the Aerodrome in Schenectady, New York. They most likely earned around $16,000 for all 4 concerts held at these venues. Travel-wise, it was a good idea to stay away from Woodstock and earn more money while catching some rest, as much as intense, high-energy 20-year-olds can. Out of all 4 Zeppelin bandmates, I think Robert Plant was the one who truly regretted their absence from Woodstock. His obsession with the band love and American West Coast music fueled his late 60s rockstar dreams. He had the traveling band spirit within. Realizing the cultural magnitude and significance of Woodstock must have been a bittersweet moment, despite Zeppelin's astronomical success. Robert didn't forget about the festival though, as he added small portions of Joni Mitchell's Woodstock on Zeppelin's Dazed and Confused in at least 16 performances from 1975, including Earl's Court. One last thing before we go, the real winner at Woodstock was Warner Brothers, the distributor of the March 1970 film that scored big on the box office. The documentary feels like the end of the 60s. Jimmy's Monday morning performance, interspliced with footage of trash, mud, and hippie afterthoughts, was so goddamn premonitory for things to come. Jimmy died, Janis died, 10 years after broke up, Creedence broke up, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young broke up, like 3 times. Peace and love jams morphed into chasing hit singles. I'm looking at you, late 70s Santana. Vietnam was put under the rug in favor of consumerism, the American currency was devalued, and cocaine became the driving force behind driving to get more cocaine. Woodstock looks like a time capsule epilogue, closure, and the end of an era. Led Zeppelin was the birth of a new one, and it was captured on their own cult classic movie, their own Woodstock, their own swan song in the state of New York. So there you have it, the reasons why Zeppelin didn't play Bethel 1969. The closest thing was their show-stealing set in Texas 1969. And once again, you can check this episode here on the channel. Keep the groovy vibes going, do not listen to Meatloaf. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next destination. Bye bye.
See you later, friend.